Warm greetings. On behalf of W4W Foundation, welcome to another session of Friday Waters. The idea of Friday Waters is to wet the Fridays with fun and yet get fruitful content for the better understanding about water in different possible ways. Friday Waters has water talkies, book reading, which is today, thesis club, and water art session. The focus of the Water Reading Club session is to bring authors who have written books, novels, comics, or other manuscripts on the water matters in order to discuss with them the making of their manuscripts and the issues around the subject they have covered in that. Besides bringing interest in the water conversation, the session will also increase the outreach of their manuscript in the water networks as well as in the society at large. Today, we shall discuss the making of the book, namely MARVi, an innovative approach for village-level groundwater management. And to do the honor, we have Basant Maheshwari, sir, who is one of the editors of this 2019 published book by Western Sydney University. So before I provide you some basic details of the book, first let me briefly introduce Professor Basant Maheshwari. Professor Basant Maheshwari is a distinguished professor in water, environment, and sustainability at Western Sydney University. He has over 30 years of teaching, capacity building, research, and outreach experience. His current research has a particular focus on water resources modeling, groundwater monitoring and management, urban water, river health, irrigation, water education, engagement and capacity building, environmental sustainability, and water for livelihood and well-being. And you can see actually all these things exercised in the MARVi project, which we are going to discuss today. During the last 10 years, Professor Maheshwari's work, which has involved a transdisciplinary approach to water research, has led to this project called MARVi, which is related to groundwater management in Rajasthan and Gujarat in India. The project details can be found more at www.marvi.org.in. Professor Maheshwari has more than 240 publications to his name, including over 130 articles in peer-reviewed international journals, and he has led several major externally funded research projects in Australia, Asia, and Africa. He has also served on the editorial board of several international journals. So welcome, Professor Basant Maheshwari. I'm really grateful that you could take out time to discuss the book making with us. And I would like to invite you to just give your opening remarks before we get into the depth of the book. Thank you so much, sir, for taking out time for us.
Thank you so much. And it's a great pleasure. And also thankful to you, Dr. Mansee Bal for inviting me to this very interesting and I think one of its kind type of series you have been pursuing. This work is a very collaborative work, involved more than 30 researchers and 35 farmer researchers. And the idea, I think, is this whole idea of groundwater, which led to this MARVi project, really started from my childhood, sort of what I experienced. So I will talk a little bit about that a little later. But the idea of this MARVi is to how we can engage village level people as a citizen scientist to monitor groundwater, understand groundwater, and use water in a way that it is sustainable. And it has been a long journey. And also like to, you will introduce Dr. Anil Mehtaji, but really good to see him here. And he has been a great supporter of what we have been doing. So this is just thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you so much, sir. I know you for quite some time now, and that is courtesy Dr. Anil Mehta. So thank you, Anil sir, and I know you for many years, and it really feels privileged to know you. So just briefly introducing you for this engaging in this conversation. Dr. Anil Mehta has been working for the protection and conservation of lakes and water resources for the last more than 20 years. He is the principal and lead researcher of the prestigious educational organization Vidya Bhavan Polytechnic, Vidya Bhavan Society, Udaipur, and also the central team member of the Jal Uttam Paryavaran Sanrakshan Gatividhi Dr. Mehta is also the honorary visiting faculty at the International Center for Environmental Audit and Sustainable Development, which is ICED, an institution of Comptroller and Auditor General of India. He is the founder, joint secretary of the grassroots civil society organization, Jheel Sanrakshan Samiti, and this is where I get to know about him, to be honest, when he was in his early JSS, I will say more activist mode, but now I see him more in academics mode, and it's a very good combination. The Jheel Sanrakshan Samiti is a partner organization with Global Water Partnership, and it supports and strengthens various lake conservation citizen group. Dr. Mehta is also the recipient of Dr. Yashwant Rao Kelkar Award for Environmental Conservation Work, and presently he's leading research on many projects, and if I start listing, it will be quite a lot. But to save the time, let me just invite him to give his opening remarks on conceptualizing and making of the book. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Mansee, for inviting, and it's really good that the person who conceptualized this project and for last almost 11 years consistently involving the citizens, farmers, and the scientists for what we say making the groundwater visible in the context of that with the involvement of the common people, farmers, how effectively we can visualize, we can manage the groundwater and improve the overall socio-economic environmental condition of the area. So this book is, my contribution is very small. This is all the research which were done on various dimensions of this MARVi project, whether it is about the measuring of the surface water reservoirs, check dams, measuring the groundwater in terms of quantity, in terms of quality, then effectively, preparing the plan for the groundwater management, and then to see what effects have been, the effect of all this exercise at the ground level, improvement in the school enrollment, improvement in the objective and subjective well-being, improvement in the status of women, improvement in the crop yield, and many things, and lastly, institutionalizing the whole effort. So this small book is, the small compendium of what is the MARVi project, what is the concept, how it is, executed both at the level of research and at the level of the common citizens, and what are the outcomes. So this is all, Mansee.
Yeah, thank you so much, Anil sir. Now coming to the basics of the book, MARVi, an innovative approach for village level groundwater management. The book has 15 chapters with 27 contributors and 2 editors who are here with us today. The short book is 88 pages, which is very handy, to be honest, and I could read it thoroughly and enjoy it because it's a very good mix of, doing a scientific, and as I rightly mentioned by Dr. Maheshwari, that it's a citizen science. The book is available in Western Sydney University, and the link of which is very easily available the moment you just click MARVi. Now coming to the brief of start of the content of the book, as we all know that the groundwater stress is faced by many regions across the globe, and India being the largest extractor of groundwater, we are also stressed with groundwater. The book categorically provides insights into some of the compelling facts of groundwater scenarios and talks of prominent case studies from both Gujarat and Rajasthan, where the book is focused. And these prominent examples are really showcasing the whole nuances of participatory groundwater. So we will dig into in this aspect with both Professor Maheshwari and Professor Mehta to understand the whole concept of MARVi. But just to take a snippet from the book and understand how you really experience the empowering community for groundwater management. And we're talking about a region which is arid region, both Gujarat and Rajasthan. So what it means for everyday citizen or community, and why should they be motivated to do groundwater management on their own when we can imagine that we actually look up to government for everything. So anyone can take these points from you. Go ahead. Basant sir,
To request Basant sir.
Yes, sir. Okay. Thank you so much. So the idea of this book, I think, let me start 1970 or 71, when we had a severe drought. And I have seen all the wells in my village dried up. There wasn't much water. There wasn't much fodder for cow and so on. And I seen that water is so important. So we had a well in our farm. There was no water. And then after some time, so in 73, there was good rain and the well water gone even very close to the ground. And we planted wheat crop. And I was the only person in the family. My father was away. So to really operate the pump and irrigate with the share farmer. And I think that gave me an idea that how important groundwater was. 2 years before, there was no water in the well, and then there is water in the well, and you can grow crops and so on. So that really stuck in my mind. Then I came to university and then going to do my higher degrees and came to Australia. And somehow I got interested in water management. So that really, I had several career options to go, and water became my part of what ended up the lifetime work. And in 2000, I thought I need to do something on groundwater. I really decided. So I contacted Dr. Tushar Shah from IMI. I wrote to the IMI and then got in touch with Tushar Bhai. And we had a meeting in Udaipur and we talked, and somehow the funding didn't come through. So I kept thinking. Then eventually in 2011, we got the funding. And I wasn't very interested in modeling as such. So just collect data and run models or develop or adopt models and work through, but needed something which will change on the ground. And that's what really I emphasized that to the funding body, and they liked the idea. So we started with this idea that we really want to work with farmers, everyday people, school children, farmers, community, and really make the science of groundwater that people can understand, people can use, and really change things on the ground. And so we had a visioning workshop just at the beginning of the start of the project. And we had really good people for this project. Somehow, I think it was all somehow arranged somewhere that really dedicated people. So we dreamed about what will this project look like in 5 years' time and 10 years' time. And I still have that 3-day workshop, visioning workshop we did about this project. And last year I looked at that document, and somehow it gone through the same journey we imagined, that this is what will happen to this. So that's the, I think, starting point of this book. And so as you mentioned, there are 27 researchers involved and some more involved, plus 35 farmer researchers. So
yes,
you can see how many
I mentioned that. Yes.
And we use this, what is called transdisciplinary approach. So there is something called multidisciplinary and then interdisciplinary. So multidisciplinary is different discipline people, agronomists, hydrologists, social scientists. They work in parallel, but really don't talk much each other. So they do things interdisciplinary. You work together, but you still keep your disciplinary sort of idea prominent. But when you get into transdisciplinary approach, which is what this book is based on. So you focus on the actual problem, people, and solution, not on your discipline. So I'm a hydrologist, and so I'm not interested to be working as a hydrologist, but I want to solve the problem, but I have the background. So this is how we worked, and it took a while to change that mindset. So when we had the visioning workshop, some people said, we have the idea, and why do we need this visioning workshop, and why do we need this and that? But the whole idea was to really change your attitude, thinking, and working with farmers. So the whole idea of MARVi is to really work with farmers and help them learn about the basics of science of groundwater. And many of these farmers left school even 10, 15 years ago, and they are farming, and but they have life experience. So we worked with them to train basic hydrogeology, mapping, and water balance. So there was a role of arid communities and technology, Dr. Yogesh Jadeja. And then the other partner is from Ahmedabad, the Development Support Center, and then Vidya Bhavan, where Mehtaji is, and the MPUAT. So these are the Australian partners. And then International Water Management Institute, Western Sydney University, which I'm from, and we led the project, and then CSIRO. So we had a group of all sorts of people, and a good combination. And so the three basic ideas we have tried to do in this project, which is very much the part of the chapter 1 of this book. And this is about participatory data collection, making sense of the data, and taking action. So these are the ideas which we worked on. And initially, we were not sure whether farmers will be good to work as a citizen scientist, and whether their limited education and so on. But to our surprise, you need to handhold, and you need to work with them, and you need to value and respect them. I think then their whole potential comes out. And that's what we observe, that if you value people, no matter what education. So if we were thinking, oh, I'm PhD and I'm this, and these people, why do you need to work and talk to them? Then you lost the really whole idea. So, and my other colleagues like Dr. Peter Dillon, Roger and John, and many other people who travel here, we spend less time in hotel in Udaipur or somewhere, and more time in the village, and working with, sitting with these farmers and villagers. And so what we called them is Bhujal Jankar. So this was a new term we used. And this term was coined by Dr. Tushar Shah. I think I need to give credit to him, that he was the one who really gave this name. And the arid community technologies, they trained these farmers as Bhujal Jankar. And it was a long journey. It was not straightforward that you give this training and they will work perfectly. There were initial issues, and we had to really work with them, handhold them, and it eventually worked. And so we not only asked them to collect data, but also slowly make the sense of data. So we plotted data initially for them, how groundwater is fluctuating from 1 week to another week, 1 month to another month, and they could see the pattern. And as we moved through years, they can see how the first year compares with second year, and they were able to, I think, after some guidance and some sort of nurturing, they were able to collect really useful data, and those data helped to complete 2 PhDs, 1 master's, and published journal articles in international journals, and so on. And this book there are lots of paper journal articles, but this book which we are talking today, we made sure with the help of Anilji, I think he's very good editor and conceptualizing what will sound good and make people understand. So we worked together, and we kept the really message very clear and didn't bother the reader reading some other things, but just getting to the point in each of the aspects. So we got these 15 chapters, and so we gone through hydraulic modeling, understanding groundwater recharge, and then training the Bujal Jankars, looking into agronomic aspect, the demand side management. So how can we use less water? And then we also looked into the social and economic aspects. So not just technical, but social aspects. So subjective well-being, objective well-being, and how do people perceive and their attitude towards groundwater, their attitude to groundwater they can access, their attitude to groundwater for other people, and that sort of thing. So we really gone into a lot of depth. And then we looked at how at the catchment level, the groundwater is the amount is changing, and the aquifer characteristics. And then we also, when we thought a lot of data are coming, because every week we were monitoring 250 wells in Rajasthan, 110 in Gujarat, and data were accumulating. So to make sure that data are available to anybody, anywhere, and also not get lost. So we developed this app called My Well. And so the idea of the app is people can collect data where they are and then put into this app, and then it becomes available to anybody, anywhere. And this app has gone through several revisions. And then you got the data, you got the understanding, you got the engagement of the farmers. And so they started from when we started the project, the farmers' opinion was more about there is no future in the village, there is no groundwater. And or they will say, if we can drill deeper, there is more groundwater because there is a river flowing or water is coming from 200-kilometer big dam there, say this Jaisaman Dam or some other dam, water coming all the way there. But actually that was a sort of a myth. And this measuring there and really engaging them. We also use sensors to measure groundwater levels and weather station to monitor this thing. But by measuring this thing, it really engaged them, and they started talking about it. So I give an example of one of the BJs in Rajasthan. So he has been the champion of all the BJs, and he based on the data he collected on groundwater levels, for example, and rainfall, without using any Excel or any statistical package, he was able to correlate that, okay, if I get 50 millimeter rainfall in my well, my area, I would see 2.5 meter rise in water level, because he has worked out through just his measurements. And so that was the level of deeper learning for these people. And generally speaking, if you, as a reductionist scientist, you will think, what will these people understand about groundwater and this whole analysis and so on? But people have their own way of learning. And if they can be supported, if they can be really respected and valued, then you get best out of them. And so we done the measurements, we done the understanding, And I think so. What this is now leading to is the village groundwater cooperatives,
Yes.
where villagers work together. So right now, we just had a pilot operationalized in Rajasthan, and in September, we'll have another one pilot operationalized. So basically, 20 farmers who have the land adjoining to each other, they got together. They So first thing they did, and we found the funding also, thanks to the ICICI Bank Foundation. So they gave the funding. So we put the fence around the whole area, which is about, I think, 40 hectares or something. And then each field is connected by a pipeline. And then wells also connected through that. And we put recharge pits and control bunds in that land. And now I think we're waiting for the inauguration of this village groundwater cooperative. And so the idea of this cooperative is to store groundwater, share groundwater, and sustain groundwater. So, and the whole idea is to work together. And with this climate change happening and pressure on water resources, and particularly on groundwater, uh, I see giving ownership of this groundwater management to local people is the way to do. Uh, we, the other schemes and other programs will not make change, because we've done the aquifer mapping, for example. We've done some other things, but still the problem remains, and the groundwater keeps going down and down. So this is the future. If we can empower local people, so local people is farmers, the school children, the other community members, NGOs, and they start really implementing this sort of approach at a local level, village level. And you have to start at a village level in small area, then build to say watershed level, district level, block level, district level, and so on. Not the other way around, that you have some policy at a very high level, and by the time it trickles down to, say, block or district level, nothing happens at the farmer level. But this is the way. And if we can sustain groundwater through all this sort of activity, I think there is a great future for a country like India. So many of the states depend on groundwater. And now, say, for example, with the climate change, we will have more extremes. So more flooding, more droughts. And so if we can use groundwater as a bank where you can deposit water when there's more rain and flooding, and then use that when there is a drought, or there's some dry spell like happening in some places. So the crop is really needing water. So groundwater can do this. And so I think the whole idea, I had my own concern in the beginning that how it will work, but somehow one thing led to another. And now this My Well app, I had a meeting with the National Water Information Portal system this morning with the Minister of Jal Shakti. They are ready to take this My Well integrate into their portal. And we are working in Sri Lanka on the same MARVi approach, and in Africa. So this is in nutshell what we have tried to do in this 10, 11 years of journey. And there is more to do, but the idea has worked. And the next step is to how do you upscale to different areas. And we already started a small project in Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, and part of Gujarat as a outscaling exercise.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Vatsan sir, because you really beautifully crafted a story which also laid out the layout of the book, because I was looking at where you started with Bhujal Jankar and started talking about coping with the temporal things, and then started talking about human well-being and societal well-being. And you also talked about the MyWell app, and now it's good to know that Government of India is also going to consider it taking as a mainstream app. So congratulations for that, and also upgrading. And the key takeaway from what you gave as a keynote speech is the cooperation uh, in the time of climate change crisis, and how that is basically the essence to climate change adaptation, because it is all about water scarcity. So let me just come back to the book conversation and bring Anil sir on board. And I'm sure he has been instrumental in making the book such, reader friendly. So you don't have to be a water expert or a water scientist to read this book. And that's what I liked about the book. And I'm sure Anil sir can throw some light on it, because very simple language of the book, very simply laid out, short chapters, so that one does not have to read the whole book at a time. You can just read few pages and one chapter is over, and then you can take a little bit of, digestion time, or, reflection time on each chapters and get into it. So Anil sir, I'm reaching to you to ask how it is to convert a hard science, because I'm completely aware, and as Basant sir also mentioned, that there are PhDs and master's theses and scientific papers which are there as a supporting document to this simple document. So how it is to convert a hard science into a, let's say, a citizen science or a soft science, because you know every nerves of the state, as Basant sir knows, because you have been there on and on and on ever since. So what was your experience of making it a citizen science report?
So, Mansee, the whole concept was given by Dr. Maheshwari, as he said that he belonged to that area. He belongs to that area, and he has
Yes.
seen the condition there. And if you have heard, he has narrated about how the scientists spend their time, still spending their time with the villagers, and exploring their traditional wisdom which they already have about the groundwater, about the management of land resources and all that. So our idea is to make this very user friendly, and that's why the Hindi version of this book is also there, and Gujarati version of this book is also there. And this Hindi and Gujarati version are not just the translation of the English version, or the English version is not the translation of Hindi version. It is about communicating with the people, acknowledging the people, the farmers, the Bhujal Jankars who are working in the field, acknowledging them, and uh, disseminating this whole idea of groundwater management with the people's participation to a larger level. So being my um, more neck in writing newspapers, where in 200 and 250 words you need to explain entire story. So the concept was there in my mind that it should be in that journalistic mode, little bit of journalistic mode, where you can the whole idea is to communicate the science in easier and simpler words, and in the minimum words. So that was the idea, and of course Basant Maheshwari ji guided us uh, uh, very well, and that is how we brought out this book. So the another point is that it is not just innovative approach in when you read the innovative approach the groundwater management. There are many innovations in it. As the Maheshwari sir has said that the people who are sharing the boundaries of their land, they are talking together. I think it would be the most wonderful thing in our country, where there are so many dispute on the land, so many dispute on the water, and in this situation, the people who are sharing the boundaries or who are sharing the groundwater, they are working together with the mutual cooperation. They are talking about the groundwater management. So there are many innovations, many approaches, but as you asked me, the whole idea was to communicate the science in very simpler words, and that is the essence of what we say citizen science.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. Because even I don't find myself in the scientific community fitting well. So then these kind of text becomes very easy to really go through and read, because we are doing a book reading session. I'm focusing on the book more here. So when you were talking about Basant sir, that it was initially, and it's very close to your heart because you are also the son of that same soil where the book has, taken birth. Uh, when you talked about, initially it was challenging for the farmers to understand and all, I need to understand from you, when you engage in documenting these kind of projects, both of you for that matter, when we are trying to do as scientists, we try to do science and we are going reaching out to people, and where people are actually facing their everyday life issues related to water, related to other things, what will really motivate them to engage with science and scientists? What are their takeaways? Why would anyone engage in this kind of science if they really don't see anything they get out of it? What was your experience? Why would farmer be engaged in this kind of science and producing a book? Will they really benefit in making a book? So I just need to understand how farmers really got in tune with you, that this whole project, I know book is an outcome of the project, but even to engage local people into a research project or into a grant or funded project, and unless and until they know that they are seeing something getting out of it, how difficult it is. Because I recall my own mentor, Professor Elinor Ostrom, talking about that these kind of cooperative management or these kind of small scale projects become extremely beneficial and extremely doable when there is a facilitator or like a catalyst. So probably your role in this project became like a catalyst where farmers could think about, talk about, and now eventually they have reached a stage of making a cooperative. But why would they do that in the first place, to join you as a movement? Your experience.
Very good question and very deep question. So I think the first thing is the reason they engaged with us. So they had a problem, but
Yes.
the approach we have, the way we approach them, not as a, okay, we know more and you don't know anything.
Yes.
And so we are going to tell you what to do. It wasn't like that, but it was more like, do you have a problem? Can we work together?
Yes.
And we'll help you to learn together. And so that was the approach. So we empowered them. Okay, you can measure this. And we also acknowledge not always they know everything. So for example, in some cases, we had to explain even in how many centimeters are in meter. Okay,
Yeah.
so when you're measuring, you count this millimeters, not millimeter, but at least centimeter, each centimeter. And so I give an example when some of the BJs were monitoring and they're reporting, okay, today the water level is 30 meter and next week the water level was 40 meter, for example. And then we started questioning, how come you have exact meters? Then said, okay, we're just giving you almost there. We said, between this. And we said, look, you need to measure in centimeter, and every centimeter is important.
Yes.
And once we explained them, they become really understanding that this is the way to do. So I think the reason they got engaged is we made the environment for them to learn there.
Yes.
This is something interesting for them, and this can help not only them but their village. And also, even now, some of the BJs they contact Yogita and Prahlad, and okay, they send videos and they post on the Facebook also. Some of them, and so they got into this. They own the project as well. I think we gave the ownership of the project. It's not my project or Nilji's project, but it's a project of everybody. And I sort of shared ownership, you can say. So
I think
that made the difference.
Please continue. I think that becomes a basis of sustaining a project for so long, because it is very easy for a collective to disperse. To hold them together, it's like a honeybee, beehive example. How to keep them together with some common goals and all. Let me just come to Anil sir with a question on education. There is a chapter on groundwater scarcity and educational opportunities, and it is focused more on female students, but we can discuss in general as well. So how do you see, Anil sir, the whole educational opportunities around groundwater in a country, in a setting, in a state or region where actually I'm personally also very concerned, as you are seeing me, I'm running this conversation series, that we do not have much education on groundwater. And last 3 months, interestingly, in Friday.Waters.Book session, we have been having session on groundwater. I mean, in fact, last month we had, Abhijit Mukherjee sir from IIT Kharagpur, and the month before in June, we had Tushar Shah sir from IMI. So, and for last 4 months, we have been talking groundwater, and this question is actually now coming first time to you to understand, where do our education or educational institutions stands in terms of educating everyone? It's not about educating the farmer or whoever who would like to get a job out of it, but in general as well. So focused on the book, but in general circumstances we live today. Daniel sir.
Yeah. So I would just supplement your the answer to your previous question.
Yes.
So I would say that especially about Basant Maheshwari ji and the team, that people are having a kind of belief that this person, all these scientists and those who are involved in the project, they are really concerned. They are not there to just they will complete their research and publish some research papers, and then what we say, they will pick up their boria bistar and go. So that was not there, right? Right from the first day, the farmers there, the village community there, they were having belief, and this was built by the MARVi team, that they are really concerned, that the whole team is really concerned about the changing the whole situation around groundwater and the water in general, and to improve the overall well-being of the area. So that belief is there. And that's why you could see that for last 11 years the project is working very well, and they're real outcome on the ground. So I would say that when you go with this approach, that you are concerned, and that way I would say that Basant Maheshwari ji, being native of this place, the people believe that he's a sort of a pious rishi who is really
Yes.
Thinking in terms of what we call in terms of the spirituality, that is really concerned to improve the life and well-being of the people. So this is supplementing what Basant Maheshwari has said about the education in general and groundwater per se in our education scenario and education system. See, when you say about water, it is there, right from the EVS book of class 2 or 3 up to the PhD level, we all talk about we all read about the water. We read about it, we appear in examinations, but there's no connect,
Yes.
And that connect is missing. Even if you ask someone what he perceive or what he or she perceive about the water, is water just H2O, or
Yes.
it is just water drops in a tank or in a pond? So water is beyond that, So what is required, that our education system and all our education pedagogies and methodologies, they should connect the people with the nature. It has started. I mean, I would not say that it is not there, but we need to really focus on it. So in MARVi, it was not just doing some research at the ground level. It was actually about educating the people. So
Yes.
There's a difference between you make the people water literate, but just making the literacy, it's not the solution. You educate the people, and education is much more than the literacy. So the MARVi is about the education of the people, and as Maheshwari sir has said, that I know more approach is not workable. So when you go in the field and you take on the board of the opinion and the wisdom of the people, and then you co-create the whole idea of, around water, then the real education, it disseminates. So to conclude, I would say that MARVi is an unique example where the water education in general and groundwater education in general, in particular, it is there. I mean, and the MARVi has published, a very good books on groundwater education.
Yes.
Maheshwariji, another publication is the groundwater. About the female, as we all know, that condition all around is very worst. Woman is the first sufferer, when the water is not there or the groundwater is not there. So if you improve the groundwater and if you involve the woman in the whole process, in theory, we all say, that we should involve even the Dublin principle advocates that women should be involved. But the whole process of involving people, giving them chance, taking on the board, and acknowledging their voice, their concerns, then you can really improve the situation. And MARVi is the since the people were having very, very sort of belief and connect with the Maheshwariji whole team. So woman is there in the whole process of discussion and dissemination, and that's why I would say that MARVi is the only example where the education on water amongst female has disseminated very well.
Mm-hmm.
This is from my side.
Because there is also sorry, please continue.
Want to add to what Anilji said.
Yeah.
So as he said, woman is the first sufferer if there is scarcity of water, or especially groundwater. And also it does affect the education of the female students in the schools. So we wanted to prove this. And so we took the attendance records of schools in both in Rajasthan and Gujarat. And we also had the groundwater levels measured weekly basis around in those villages. And to our surprise, what we found was as the groundwater level dropped, the attendance of the female students also dropped. In the schools. So boys it was still same, but the female students' attendance dropped because they had to help a little bit extra to fetch the water or some other aspects related to groundwater. So I think what it leads to is the groundwater can affect the literacy education of women or female students. That can have a long-term impacts on the family and the village and the country.
Absolutely.
So we need to do that. And I think also the importance of women, they bring another different perspective of managing groundwater. So if we had a group of female and men in different groups and we talked about the issue, what should we do? So men came with the idea that we need to have more check dams and we need to have
technical solutions,
more hardware type things.
Yes, hardware solutions.
And then you talk about the women, then they will say groundwater quality is very important because it affects my family's health. And then we need to grow some other things. And so if we bring them together and give a role to women, then I think we have a better chance of succeeding. Otherwise, it will be a one-side solution which will not be sustainable or will not get the best benefit out of what we do.
Yeah, very well put. And personally, I get very interested in any manuscript which has little bit mention about gender aspect and women, because I love to work in this area, also being concerned as a woman and feminist. So let me just move on to the other aspect which is covered in the book, and where you talk about the cost effectiveness methods. And as we know that there are many ways in which groundwater or aquifer properties are measured or monitored, for that matter. So if I focus on the regions where you have worked in the book and all, are you talking about many methods, or you are really trying to see how people adapt to certain methods which are available there? So Basant sir.
Yeah, so we looked at the check dams
Yes.
in the area and tried to understand how much water can you store in the check dams and how far the recharge goes from where the check dams are and how much water actually is available to farmers. So we looked into those things and developed some water balance and can get some idea this size of check dam can provide this much extra water to the surrounding land. So that aspect we have covered. And we also realized that water management is different, groundwater management different in the hard rock aquifers, so which is the Rajasthan, Gujarat, Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh.
Yes.
But if you go to Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, they are more alluvial aquifers. And so when somebody asks, what has MARVi, has the MARVi helped to bring the water table up or like this? What is the indicator of the success? But when you talk about the hard rock aquifer, there is a limitation of how much water is stored. And so they empty very quickly, relatively quicker compared to alluvial aquifers. And they also fill up quicker.
Yes.
So you can't really say that by having certain intervention, you have raised the water level by 1 meter or 2 meter, or because they are drawing water from the aquifer and water table has gone down. So I have seen in the beginning of the project, the water table was very deep. And then in 2016 or something, when good rainfall, water level was just close to the surface in this area. But if you go to UP or Bihar, the situation is different because it takes a long time to see the effect of depleting water table, and also long time to see the rise in water table. Whereas in hard rock areas, it empties quicker and it fills up quicker.
Yes.
So you really that idea of declining groundwater table doesn't apply to hard rock aquifers. And so my sort of coming to your point is amount of water available depends on the aquifer and also which way the fractures are moving. So in one of the villages in where we worked, so there was a big check dam built, and the village people from Suratpura, they thought this will be very good thing for their wells, but actually their wells didn't benefit. The water gone to some other area.
Yes.
So which way the fractures are in the geology of the area, that influences which way the water will go.
Yeah. Thank you. There is a good 2 section in the book which talks about the cropping of the region. And Anil sir, you may like to take that part and give us a little bit idea of, how the relationship of groundwater, an interesting chapter title, by the way, more crop per bucket of groundwater. It's like a very easy measurement which local people can relate with, and back to the citizen science thing. And there are mention of certain kind of crops which can be grown. So I just want to understand from you and both Basant sir as well, but just because we are trying to engage in conversation, I'm asking questions to each one of you differently. When we talk about certain kinds of crops in an arid region like Rajasthan and Gujarat, and particularly your area of research in this MARVi project, there is mention of use of improved varieties and organic matter. There is also mention of the threat from zinc, which we have in the region. So what is your experience on people's perception about cropping there in the arid region, and how I must say adaptive they are to really change in the cropping pattern, or how are they doing it even now? I mean, outside the project or in the project also. Anil sir.
So I would partly answer, and I think it would be better that Basantji answer this question.
Sure.
But regarding, I mean, see the whole area, not just this area, but in many parts of the country or throughout the country, our irrigation is dependent on groundwater.
Yes.
So if the groundwater is not there, or if the groundwater quality is very bad, it would certainly affect the even the, I mean, not just the water quality, but the soil quality also.
Yes.
So making the proper amount of water available, groundwater available to the people, it would certainly increase in the the yield, the
Yes.
crop. So this is general. I mean, this is applicable everywhere. But particularly in this MARVi area, as you have mentioned, that it's a semi-arid zone, and there is no perennial source of water. Groundwater is the only source for the irrigation. So if you make available this groundwater, certainly the crop yield would increase. What has been done in MARVi, and I think Basantji would answer it more properly, that how can, by improving the soil quality, and bringing the new varieties, you can change the situation. And since the many people from the Maharana Pratap University of Agriculture and Technology are involved in this project, so all these new approaches, new methods, new concepts, they are experimented there, and and the ultimate result is that there is this increase in the crop yield. Now I request Basantji to focus more on it.
Thank you. So,
Yes, sir.
So we had lots of meetings, and what crop you're growing, how much
Yes.
water you're using, and what are the options, and so a lot of discussions. So I just give an example how farmers really change their practice without sort of telling them what to do. So, but they just picked up. So we had lots of discussion. How can you save water? So one of the farmers who was involved as a BJ, so he realized that I think the bottom line is I need to have certain income per
Yes.
biga or per hectare. So he thought what crop to grow, and we had some discussion. So we said, oh, is there another crop you can grow? So he was growing wheat crop, which requires 6 irrigations from planting to harvest. And then he went for Isabgol, which requires only 3 irrigation. And the income he get per biga is more or less same. So with 3 irrigation, he can grow larger area and increase his income. So that's how, when the other farmers saw this, they also started doing this. And the whole thing spread to many other farms. So this is the way farmers change to use less water, so more crop per bucket.
Yes, that interesting chapter layout, and also you do mention how changing behavior was not done as in you have to change, but showing them the scenario, people took their own decisions. So it's very much in alignment in the way you both mentioned about that. It is their work, it is our work, and the ownership is a shared ownership as far as the project as well as the whole initiative is concerned. We are inching towards the closure of the conversation, but I still have 2 important questions to ask you. May I know a little bit more about what this app constitutes of, and how are we going to make people understand the app? I mean, now we know we are using app for almost everything, for everyday life. Even to get our vegetables and groceries at home, we are using app. So when we are talking about My Well app, I'm assuming it is more focused to certain section of the society, which is farmers who are using the groundwater. So apart from using the app, what constitutes in the app, and how do you think this app can be really brought to pan India? I'm sure you are now already doing it for more states as you're upscaling the project. But your thoughts on the app and upscaling plan? Because according to you, the government of India is going to take the upscaling plan, no?
Yeah. So the idea of app is groundwater is a invisible resource.
Yes.
And so how can you make it visible? And the one way to make it visible is we measure and then display
Yes.
in the forms of graphs or tables that we can now say, okay, how deep is the water table, when it was this depth, when it was other depth, and so on. So the idea of the app is people can monitor groundwater levels, water quality like pH, EC, that sort of thing, and also rainfall. And if every village at least say do like this, then we get an almost in real time how much
Yes.
rainfall was in my village, how much was in the village 3 kilometers away or 10 kilometers away. And people start sort of that water literacy, groundwater literacy, that, okay, say when we started this project, and there was no measurement of rainfall ever in those villages. And so if you ask the farmer how much was the rain, and they will say, okay, enough rain to have water flowing on the ground.
Yeah.
And that was their indicator.
Yes.
But once they started monitoring rainfall, they started talking in millimeters. Okay, so we had 13 millimeter rain or 45 millimeter rain, and that became a good conversation about water. And once they put this sort of data into the app, then they can see, okay, last year, this time, this much was the rain, but this year it is less or it is more. And once this, so the coming back to your, let me come to the question, what this app constitutes. So with this app, this is a tool to really report what you measure and make it available to anybody, anywhere. And so in the app, we made a declaration that this app, whoever puts the data is public domain. So we're not going to make profit out of this data. And people should be able to use this data to understand what is happening in my village, another village, or in the whole district. And if people put the rainfall data, for example, then you can almost get in real time. And you can install automatic weather station, rain gauges now are available and affordable also. But the idea of somebody measuring, really it internalizes in their mind. Okay, I measured this, this is the value. Otherwise, you are really detaching people from the things they are experiencing. And by doing this, so this data and this new version has got also, you can put river water levels, river flow, also the water level in a dam. You can put the spring discharge, because springs in Himalayan region also are there. Some are using this app, so we put that. You can also report data on your rainwater tank and like that. So all sorts, we have included not only just groundwater, but many other parameters. And if people start reporting, so in India, we have 6 lakh villages. And I just, Anilji just got 40 rain gauges, for example, which you can use, and it cost us $13-14 Australian. And so it's very useful, anyone can use. And if in 6 lakh villages, if we put rain gauge, 2 rain gauges in each village, and everyone measuring, you can imagine we can almost get real-time data for every village across India. And it doesn't cost you a lot of money. I think if you think what we are getting. So one in a school, one somebody like Bujal Jankar in each village, and we got a great database. And then people start planning their crop, understanding what is changing. And once people have data, objective aspect of the thing they need, they think clearly. But if it is we don't know how much rain, we forget actually. So this year was a drought, and next year more rain, and then after something else, and we really forgot. But if you have data, you can really talk a little bit more objectively, not emotionally. And that can help you to plan and develop better strategies, policies, village level, district level, country level. Data is a power.
Absolutely. And importantly, we now know very well that what can be measured can be managed. Otherwise, managing is not possible at all. So that brings me to the last question for the day. I really feel like just continuing this conversation because it is going so well, but we have to close it somewhere, and to make it also easily available in a shorter format. But a very good discussion, to be honest. So my last question, and you both may take it in a very short answer manner. And as you both started as catalysts to making this cooperation, I see you both more as caretakers to this cooperation now, because these cooperations or cooperatives can sustain only when there is some activity going continuously. It doesn't have to be rigorous, but something is going on. You have to keep the people engaged. You have to keep people informed about it. You have to keep motivating people into the group. I mean, I myself is running collective. Anil sir is part of it, and you are going to be soon part of it. And also I have this women council on water, and I know that how time consuming it is as a caretaker of these kind of cooperatives. And I'm sure many farmers are also feeling the same, those who are leading the cooperative. Where do you see yourself and the cooperative itself to sustain, or I should not use the word self-sustainable, but then still we have to really have an urge, or if we have to anticipate that this model of cooperation or cooperative sustains for a longer time. Because being an Ostrom scholar, working with Eleanor Ostrom, we always talk about these design principles for long-term sustaining of the commons and the collectives. I'm just wondering, and I will be very keen to write a paper on, the design principles of MARVi project. But just to hear from you, what will be those key, attributes to make this collective sustain for a longer time?
Thank you. So I think I have read also Ostrom, and
Yes.
when we were thinking about these cooperatives, we gone through the
Yes.
8 principles and so on.
Yes.
And I think the key to success is really handhold these pilots and
Yes.
understand. And you need some sort of support, capacity building, how to work together,
Yes.
how to resolve conflicts. And still you may have personal level differences, but
Yes.
still you rise above them and work as a team, work as a group, and document this. So for example, we are already planning, how do you need to train these cooperative members to say run meetings, for example.
Yes.
If they have a group meeting, how do you run that meeting? How do you make sure that everyone is felt valued in the meetings? And so we are going to do some capacity building, and we make sure that all these things are done. And we are hoping that we document and we draw lessons, so that if you outscale these cooperatives to other areas, people can manage better. And I think last thing I want to say is once something is working and it is benefiting, it will find its own sort of dynamics.
Yes.
Like those Grameen Bank type thing, or people are collecting money every month, and everyone is making sure that everyone pays back whoever takes a loan, for example. So if things are clear, I think that will sustain. And I give an example. We just done the work, and then some other farmers groups came to us that, can we also have this cooperative? And we said, look, we just done a pilot, and we will help you to do this. So I think that word will spread.
Yes, I'm sure. Anilji, would you like to add something here?
So I would add two things. I mean, first is about the MyWell app. It is not
Yes.
just a mobile app or a tool for posting the data and synthesizing data. It is about connecting the people, educating the people, enlightening the people that water is our common resource, and whether I'm sitting here or 50 kilometers away from my place, the idea is about our common water and our common future. So
Yes.
that MyWell app is so imbibing this sense of collective responsibility and accountability towards the water.
Yes.
About cooperatives, I would say that as we always say, that water connects. So if anything is built on water, it would
Yes.
certainly connect the people. It has connected the people. The most important attribute, I would say, is the trust between the people and trust of the people in the whole MARVi team, especially Dr. Maheshwari ji, that the intentions are very, very pious and noble, and there is there is a real a sense of making all these water resources sustainable. So if that trust is there, and if there is if you can somehow revitalize this wisdom of looking water as a common resource, then certainly all these cooperatives there would work, and this whole idea of this MARVi would sustain for many years.
Yeah. Thank you so much. You both raised a very important point here in terms of trust disciplinary, where Gasan has started the conversation, and you end the conversation saying that trust remains the key, pillar to collective action. And may I add two more words here at hope. When we come together, there is a hope for a better future, I must say. And I think to run this hope and trust as two pillars, we really need important two components, which are sharing of information and a constant communication is required, no matter in which form or how and all. And I think today's conversation also becomes a little tribute to Professor Elinor Ostrom in a way, because we are talking about small collective, we are talking about bottom-up approach, we are talking about cooperatives, and then we're talking about advancement in technology, which can keep us connected and rightly mentioned as water connects. And I think this is a good point in time where we can really decide to end the conversation here. We can go on and on talking about it, but we have to take a decision on closing the conversation. But just to add to it, like the book is multilingual, I am assuming when you are going for upscaling of it, it is going to be made multilingual, because India has many languages, and so I'm sure you are already keeping that in mind when the MyWell app gets into the national level project.
Actually, it is translated into 16 languages
already. Okay,
yeah.
So that's a very good information which did not come out earlier. So now we know that.
So most languages of India, plus Spanish, French, and Portuguese, and African, this Swahili's. So they're
wonderful. So wonderful. That was my concern also, and that has already been addressed. So thank you so much, both of you. And I'm sure you enjoyed this conversation as I enjoyed it very much. And it is very enlightening to learn that these small drops in the ocean of water crisis are so crucial that we have to really keep on knowing what is going on. And we also have to acknowledge and appreciate the efforts which are being taken at smaller scales, and also getting experimented how to upscale them. Because whether we like it or not, water crisis is at our doorstep. We are facing it. And much of the water crisis comes from the groundwater extraction, where India is really a key player, both in groundwater extraction and also the key sufferer and among the world's largest countries, which is suffering a lot. And in this kind of situations, if these small efforts can be taken, at a larger scale, and if more people can join these kind of initiatives, I think we can really hope for a better future to adapt to the climate crisis, or adapt to the water crisis which is coming up. So thank you so much, Basant Maheshwari sir and Anil Mehta sir. I really look forward to doing something together. If not, at least I would like to study it more and come up with some kind of writing about it. And thank you, Basant sir, for inviting me to write a book on your series of books, so which I am very much looking forward to it. And I will really try my best to do something out of it. From these conversations, we are planning to write a book on book reading sessions, because we had wonderful speakers. We are now, 12 book sessions we have. So we have very good strength of knowledge, I must say, which we gathered from all authors like you. So let me just announce the next week's sessions before I close the session officially. So next week, please join us for Friday Water session, which is on Thesis Club on August 18 at 5 p.m. IST. So today was very special session at 4 p.m. IST, but usually we do 5 p.m. IST. So next week we have unraveling of institutional disarrangements in urban water governance. We are having using social network analysis, and we are having Vaishali Kushwaha from Boston talking about her PhD research on urban waters in India. And then next week, Wednesdays for Water, which is our signature series on August 16th, we have at 5 p.m. IST, we have our Riverscape series, which is going on, and it is the last of the series, so session number 6. And we have a very young river conservationist from South India. We are talking about our river, our lives, where they really get into the river and start do clean the river with youth and all. So please keep checking our website, which is www.w4w.in for more information. All the events information are there on our website, so you can get those things, and links for all the previous sessions are also available there. So you can also get into looking at nearly 200 sessions. So we are today having 199th session of our water conversations, and we are really looking forward to your support and encouragement to continue these conversations. As W4W team, we strongly believe that water conversations are the most crucial thing for water conservation. And we saw that through MARVi project today as well, how they have been consistently working on that project through all kinds of methods and approaches, and importantly, communication. Thank you so much, both of you, and I look forward to doing something together.